All right, let's go. It is a happy hump day this morning on our July the 9th. I am meteorologist Ben Peine, Peine, here in the Extol Media Studios. So there you go. Find me on Facebook at that address right there, meteorologist Ben Peine, Extol Weather on Facebook, Extol Media on YouTube, and extolmag.com/weather. Hope you're off to a good start on this Wednesday morning. A lot of cloud cover across the area. As we take a peek live outside, you can see just overcast conditions. And we've actually had a few light rain showers kind of trying to pass by as well. As we bring up the full screen of the radar and satellite, you can see the cloud cover that we do have and a few of these passing light rain showers and some sprinkles, as we do have a weak front over the area and a little bit of mid-level energy as well. So this is going to spark some occasional pop-up showers and a few downpours for later today. So again, just off to a bit of a gloomy start as we look live here at the corner of Vincennes and Market in Uptown New Albany. So there's your live look this morning, live look at me this morning too. Always waiting for some of those first comments to pop in here, and we'll get to those here in just a second. We'll get to your forecast. We've got special guest Brad Weddington on the program this morning. We'll get to him probably around 10:10 or so. We'll talk about anything around the home building, and then we're going to dig into that weather model data as we are in this kind of stuck pattern, kind of what we call a MOTS pattern, more of the same. That's what we get in the dog days of summer, and we're just kind of just south of a stationary front. So we continue to have the humidity and some occasional pop-up showers and thunderstorms. I don't know if you noticed it though, yesterday, if you're in southern Indiana, maybe not so in Kentucky, the dew points were a little less. It was not as oppressive with the humidity, especially towards sunset in the evening time, but we are going to see that humidity on the rise once again across the area. So thanks for popping in to Ben at 10 this morning on our Wednesday edition. We've got Christian Walker. Good morning to you. Thanks for dropping in the comments here, and Brenda Collings as well. I want to remind you, if you do have a question for Brad Weddington, you can always email me, ben@extolmag.com. You can just put it in the comments as well. If you've got any issues around your yard, your home, you're thinking about buying a lot or some property or building, any of those questions, we've got Brad on the program here in just a few moments. All right, let's take a look. Again, we've got a look at just a few of these rain showers that we have across the area with the radar and satellite right now. And we'll get into the forecast here in just a few seconds. First, a couple announcements here. I want to give a shout out, as always, to our partners at ivytech.edu. If you've got a student, remind them if they're in high school, especially juniors and seniors, they can get the dual credits and get that head start in their college career. And they were, recognized recently from the state of Indiana for their work with those in the military and their families. So doing some awesome work, partnering with businesses and schools all across southern Indiana here at the Sellersburg campus. 42 programs offered right there. You can learn a whole lot more at ivytech.edu. Just go to locations and click on the Sellersburg part right there. Lions Roofing, 812-294-3595. You can head to lionsroofingco.com for a free estimate. And they're still looking for this person, this opportunity here for you, roofing repair technician. You can learn more about that job. You can apply there online as well. Go to the career sections at Lions Roofing. A lot of careers still here up for grabs with available employment opportunities at libspaving.com, L-I-B, B as in Ben, spaving.com. So check that out. And you can see all of the job openings right there. And you can apply online. Just click on the Learn More, and you'll get everything you need right there. Looking live here at some of the cloudy conditions at the Falls of the Ohio Foundation camera. Falls of the Ohio Foundation.org is where you can find this. If you want to play along with the program and look at what I'm looking, you can do the exact same here as well with extolmag.com/weather. We've got our live stream up right there. You can go to the 7-day forecast that I post every morning. I also posted this big weather story as well. So if you go to the weather story, the main picture there Check that out. That shows the potential of some Canadian air punching into our area late next week. This has been a signal in the long-range weather model data here for several days. So as long as that stays consistent, then our confidence in that long-range forecast, that Ben on the limb, so to speak, will be going up. So that is something we can look forward to late next week, around Friday, July the 18th. So a little bit of ways out there, but also, the weather story has a look at the maps for today, a few of those pop-up storms possible, forecast details for today, more information on our sunset times that we talked about yesterday, the allergy report, and again, some of those long-range maps and the 7-day forecast. You're going to find the weather story and all those details right at your fingertips there at extolmag.com. That is EXTOL mag.com. Thanks if you go there as well and hit that red button, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then that'll give you some alerts when we're popping up live, whether it's our daily Ben at 10 or if we're covering severe weather. The interactive radar showing a few of these light rain showers across the area, and current temperatures being held down a little bit this morning thanks to some of the cloud cover that we have out there. So it actually feels decent with temperatures in the mid 70s. Looking at heavier pockets of rain east of Lexington, Kentucky, and then up towards Indianapolis. In between, we just have maybe enough to use the windshield wipers a little bit. So not a whole lot out there right now to speak of on the radar. That's, again, extolmag.com/weather. And we're popping in a few more comments here before we get to Brad Weddington. Christian Walker, we're doing good on a Wednesday morning. Thanks for asking. Beverly Haggis, live from Borden, Indiana. Keith Hennessy, neighbor out there toward Borden as well, saying nice out here this morning. I heard a lot of birds chirping out there when I was up early this morning. And Amy Jo Moore comment, good morning from New Albany, Indiana. Amy, thanks for watching here right in our backyard. Sarah Humphreys, good morning from Campbellsville, Kentucky. Thanks for tuning in there, guys, from Taylor County. All right, let me bring this up. Just want to remind you that, as always, here, let me bring this one up. You can always partner up whenever you'd like. If you have a business or organization, maybe a family member growing their business, we've got marketing programs, advertising, sponsorships. Ben at extolmag.com, Jason at extolmag.com. You can learn more right there. So thanks to all of our partners already and our future partners. Again, Ben at extolmag.com. If you just have a weather question, feel free to drop it in or just send me an email right there at ben@extolmag.com. There is Brad Weddington, where he's going to pop on here in just a few moments. I can see him getting ready in his backyard. And this is the little bird nerd segment this morning. We had the red-eyed vireo, the American crow, off in the distance, but not a frequent visitor, the pileated woodpecker. They're like as big as a duck flying around the woods. The chickadee, the northern mockingbird, haven't seen him around very much, and the great crested flycatcher. That's on the Merlin Bird app. If you're a middle-aged man like me, now 45, you might be getting into the birds these days. All right, here's your play ball forecast. Some pop-up showers out there. We'll go mid-80s with more clouds around and about a 40% chance of that shower for today. No severe weather or anything like that. Southwest wind will be light at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And this is a cool view. Speaking of pop-up showers, this was in Lakeland, Florida, kind of southwest of Orlando. And you can see this towering cumulonimbus cloud, very isolated, very cool looking as well. My brother took this as his family's vacationing down there and doing some baseball work. His son, Jack, my nephew, plays college baseball in Indianapolis, and he's doing some work down there. And they got a view of this over the lake. And I've got a video to go along with this. So check this out. Look closely. You can see the lightning flashing in this very isolated pop-up storm. Just big enough of a storm and very isolated to have some lightning in that. So kind of a cool view there I wanted to share with you. So thanks to my brother Adam Peine for sharing that one. UV index today, 9. It's going to be at a very high level, even though we do have some cloud cover. If we get some peaks of sunshine, it doesn't take much. with that high sun angle to get a burn. The good news here, the allergy report remains low. We do have some grass and weed pollen across the area, but the weed pollen season is upon us soon, later this summer and into early fall. We showed you this yesterday, but just another reminder, we lose about 20 minutes of daylight by July 24th. We get those before 9 p.m. sunsets, before 8 p.m. sunsets in a couple of months. 2 months from now, we lose 2 hours of daylight. And then we won't even talk about November 2nd, 5:42 p.m. sunset. So we're losing daylight from both ends. Our sunrises are getting later and our sunsets are getting earlier, minute by minute, day by day. 86 that high today with some pop-up showers, southwest wind at around 5 to 10 and mostly cloudy. Low tonight 71 degrees, partly cloudy and humid with an isolated shower. And our forecast tomorrow, similar, partly cloudy, only an isolated pop-up shower expected, about a 20% chance of that with highs in the upper 80s for your July 10th. The 7-day forecast, it's more of the same. Again, a MOTS forecast, as we used to call it that. Upper 80s, low 90s for highs, some occasional pop-up showers and thunderstorms. There may be a front kind of in the vicinity. It's a very weak front this weekend that might give us a little better chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms from time to time, but not a washout. Maybe a dry day in there Tuesday, 92 degrees, but same kind of forecast through Wednesday. But I am seeing signs of change late next week. So stay tuned after our interview with Brad Weddington. He'll be live from Henryville, Indiana, because I think we're going to see a change late next week, and it'll be cool to look at those weather models. So stay tuned for that here in just a moment. And let me go ahead and bring up Mr. Weddington here. Can you hear me, sir?
I've got you loud and clear. Do you have me?
I got you too as well. A little humid out there.
Oh, it's sticky, Ben. It's extremely sticky.
Same story that we've had pretty much the entire time we've been doing this. So I'm just popping up a little more. That's not Brad. Here's Brad. There's Weddington Custom Homes. That's the guy in front of you right there. So again, if you have any questions for Brad, put them in the comments and we can answer them live for you right here. Really encourage you to do that. Get a couple more good mornings on here from Alberta Philpott. We got a good morning. Carol Thomas from Sellersburg tuning in. Thank you. Lillian Lasley has some 70s and a good morning there. And all right, we'll get to it here with Brad. So Brad, we touched on this a little bit last week about just because I'm dealing with this a little bit. My HVAC unit, my air conditioning is working good. The temperature is normal. Basement, first level, humidity's fine, but the upper level, the second floor, it seems like we're not getting the humidity out as much. Maybe that's because it's the second floor, or am I dealing with some leaks? I'm trying to find maybe a little bit of a leak here and there, test that out, or do I just need somebody to come and help me out in a professional way? So what are your thoughts on all that?
I don't know. It could be a number of things with as humid as it is outside. I don't really think you have any leaks per se, just because, you know, your house is 11, 12 years old. I wouldn't see it having a new leak. I know on mine, I'm a 2-story home on a basement, just like your house is. And I typically will make sure that the upstairs unit is like 1 degree cooler than the main floor unit. So that's going to make that upstairs unit run even more. Because anytime that unit's running, it's going to help condition that air. And, you know, like in my home, just like in yours, you know, that upstairs unit is primarily used for cooling, not for heating. The main basement unit is used more for heating than cooling. So that's one way to help battle that is let that upstairs unit run a little bit more than the main floor unit.
All right.
Another way to help battle that is, you know, on your thermostat, you're going to have an option for your fan for auto or on. I notice on really, really, really hot days and on really, really, really cold days, you know, extremes both directions, I will definitely run that fan in the on position. And what that's going to do is that's going to run that blower motor in your furnace, whether it's calling for cool or not. And what that's going to do is that's going to help circulate that air. That's going to be one of the best things as far as systems go. Now, as far as your house as a whole, make sure you're keeping doors shut. No windows are cracked. You know, maybe somebody opened up a window because it was a nice evening and they've shut it, but they haven't fully shut it. So little things like that, just check, make sure everything's sealed up tight.
And I'm with you on that because I have a 16-year-old son that likes to get things out of the basement garage, like a four-wheeler, and doesn't necessarily like to shut the garage completely. So I did see like a half-inch crack, and I actually found a dead frog in the garage because it was like,
Always,
and I'm sure
always a
spiders
nice
and bugs.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that air flows into the system as well. So, different topic here. And again, if you have any questions, how is your heating and cooling at home? How is it doing? Let us know about that, or any other questions around your house. So you go through these periods where you don't have a lot of issues, and then things pop up if you're a homeowner. But there's also life changes. So I'm kind of heading towards, in healthcare, like medical, they call it like a life event. So our life event coming up with my wife, Sarah, is that we're going to be empty nesters in just 2 years. So, 11 years ago when we were building our house, we were looking 15 years down the road at building this house for a family. But I might not need to take care of this size house and this property any longer. So there are thoughts starting to come up that maybe a different style house, smaller house, less upkeep, maybe a smaller lot. What would you tell folks in this part of their life? Some things to think about during this change. Have you ever had some deep thoughts on that topic?
I'm in a
Yourself,
similar
because
boat.
you might relate to this as well.
Yeah, no, I'm in a similar boat. My son's 21, he's in the military, and my daughter's 18. She'll graduate, this year. I just had a meeting with somebody earlier this week, actually, and it was a similar scenario. Quite a bit older. Kids are grown, gone, and they had, I believe it's like 25 acres. And the home that they were living in, it was one of those homes where the ground's really, really sloped. So the garage is in the basement. So anytime they're coming home with groceries or just coming home, period, you're pulling into that basement garage and you're going upstairs. There's no avoiding it. So in their scenario, we looked at ways, what could we do to enhance this home to make it a quote unquote age-in home.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I told him, I said I could take it or leave it. I'm not trying to push you onto a new home or anything like that. But we looked through the numbers on it, and it was like, you're going to spend a tremendous amount of money in that existing home. If it wasn't designed to be an age-in home, you're going to spend a tremendous amount of money in it to get it up to that par, and it's still never going to be there. So and that's what I told him. I was like, you're going to spend about 3/4 of the cost of a new home to make this home about a quarter as good as a new home with, slab, everything one level, wider doorways, things like that.
Especially if your next home might be like not as big or smaller lot.
Yeah. And what I see a lot of times with people is, as their kids grow up and move on, they're looking more for a slab home. And when I say a slab home, that means, everything's on one level and it's poured on a concrete slab. They're leaning more towards those when they get a little bit older. But what they're wanting to do is, yes, I've got people that sometimes want to downsize. Let's say they're coming from, your scenario, you're roughly 3,000 square foot finished, Ben. And let's say you go to a 1,700 square foot home, which is 1,800 is common on one level. They want the smaller home, but they still want the nicer amenities. So that's kind of where we come into play. Is most of the homes that you see for sale, if they're on the smaller side, they don't have near the amenities as the larger homes. So I'll have a lot of people say, hey, I want a home just as nice as these larger homes, but I don't need that much size. What can we do? So we'll look at it and we'll find a way that'll fit. Now, your scenario, I can almost bet you're never going to sell your home because your land and everything that you've got quite a nice setup out there.
Well, maybe I'll sell it to one of the kids, and then I can build like a little one back in the woods.
That's a good plan.
Maybe we have some options there. We got a question from Vicky Berger out in Salem, Indiana. How long do most ACs last? And I'm curious too, because I could be pushing it too.
If you get 15 years out of it, you're doing solid. You're
All
doing that's great. I would say your average life, in all honesty, is between about 10 and 15 years. That's going to be about your average life cycle of a heating and air unit. Now, what you see on your air conditioners is they changed I call it Freon. It's a refrigerant. They're constantly updating that refrigerant. So that's sometimes where it comes into play. It's almost, I'm not going to call it planned obsolescence, but
Yeah.
It just is what it is. About every 10 years, they're changing the type of Freon. We went to
Well, there's different rules too and
there's different
regulations.
rules. EPA's involved, and it has to do with CFCs and stuff like that. So they've just introduced a new refrigerant. And what that means is if you've got an existing unit, what they do is when a new refrigerant comes out, after about a year or 2 years of that new refrigerant being out, they make the cost of the existing refrigerant go whoa, way up here, so that you're almost forced to go to the newer refrigerant because of that cost right there. They just basically, they quit supporting. They don't outright say they're not supporting the existing Freon.
Yeah,
they raise the price so astronomical that you're almost going, I might as well put a new unit in.
And the crappy part here is you can't like use homeowner insurance or anything like that for a new unit.
No, it's not like a roof.
I mean, if things are tight, you might have to
get
that home equity line of credit or something.
That is because, and it never goes out whenever it's 70 and sunny and you can just be like, oh, okay, I'll wait a week or two. Yeah. I mean, it goes out when it is like this outside, and it's tough. But I also know, a lot of your heating and air companies, they do types of financing and stuff like that to help you with that. But that's one of those things. It just changes.
Might be heading that way soon. I think Vicky mentioned her brothers went out recently too. So hope that's all fixed. All right, now different topic here. And, how we're talking about looking for life change, maybe a smaller lot or whatever, but just looking for a lot in general. If someone's thinking about building a custom home, how important is that lot? I feel like it's about as important as what the home is going to be. If you build your dream home on, a lot that's next to a crappy neighbor or a busy road, then you might not be happy with this awesome home that you built. So just some things to consider if you're starting to look around Zillow, looking for those lots, some things that you've noticed as a builder that may have caused some issues.
I always say before you buy it, give me a call. Let me look at it with you. Especially if you come across a great deal on a piece of property. Mm-hmm. Because I've just dealt with that before. I remember I looked at a piece of property with somebody that they gave me the address, and in my mind, I'm like, that address sounds familiar. And so I went out to this property and I looked at it and I was like, I know why it sounds familiar, because I looked at this property with another potential homeowner and we decided not to buy said property.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're right.
The realtors don't have all the information either.
No, they don't. And it's no knock on them. They don't. Right. That's not what they do. So yeah, I definitely like to go out and look at the property. And what you see is people put so much emphasis on their home. They're going to worry about the roof color, the type of cabinets. They got so much involved in that when it comes to the land, it's almost like an afterthought. And they go, well, can't we make this work? Yeah, you can, but we really should have thought about this property purchase before you just bought it and said, can we put house A on property B? It's not that it can't be done. Typically we can do it, but it's a monetary thing. On that lot that I'm talking about, it was one of the last lots in a neighborhood, and it was like a bowl. I mean, it just was like a bowl. Mm-hmm. And I said, we're going to have to bring in probably 60 to 70 triaxle loads of dirt to make this lot right. And it was a $60,000 lot neighborhood, and this lot was 30, and it took about 30 worth of dirt and work to get it right. So just be leery when you see a piece of property that's really cheaply listed. Typically there's a reason for that. And
could be flooded, could be in a floodplain.
Could be in a floodplain, could be, maybe you don't have services as far as water, electric, you're going to have that expense in there. So there's a lot of things that, just getting a qualified builder out there to look at it, those type of things are going to come second nature to them. That's what we're looking for. Our main thing is how we're going to service this house and how we're going to get electric and water to it.
I mean, you saw mine when we were first building, and it's probably like top 3, one of the most difficult properties to build on.
Yeah, it was rough, Ben. It was rough.
But find a pro like Brad, and he could walk you through it. And my mom's wasn't super easy either. My mom built in our neighborhood. It's kind of just there's one spot to put like a skinny house on it, and so
yep. But
then
you're
you
right,
might
Ben,
dig into rock
on your mom's house. I mean, because you and I had talked about it, we looked at it, we designed a home to fit what we could work with the property, and it doesn't have a lot of room to build on, but the house fits perfectly on that property.
Yeah, then you don't have a lot of grass to mow, and again, she was in a different part of her life than where I'm at, and so it definitely worked for them. So thank you for your help in our life and helping to build my mom's home, some friends' homes around the neighborhood as well. So appreciate your work. And if you have any questions for Brad, again, you can email me, ben@extolmag.com. Leave it in the comments below, and we can answer it next time with Wednesdays with Weddington. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, Ben. Have a good week, and make it cool down a little bit, just a little bit.
We will try. I hope next time we talk to you, it'll be cooler in your backyard. Have a good one, man. We'll
see you, buddy.
Bye. All right, we are back to Ben at 10. That is Brad. Always fun to talk to him. And let me get to some of the comments as well that have been popping in since we last checked off. We got Jackie Strange from Georgetown, Indiana. We're about to dig into the weather model, and I hinted at that cool down late next week. Stick around for those maps as we check that out. Brian, thanks for watching here this morning. And we mentioned Vicky from Salem earlier. Christian is up in Michigan, enjoying the cooler conditions up there. Diana Peine saying, thanks for the information. My stepmom up in Indianapolis. Hope to see you soon. Celeste Garrett from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Thanks for watching here this morning. And we've got a good morning from Angela Apperson. Have an awesome rest of your day. Make our own sunshine. Always love that comment there with all the emojis as well. All right, just in case you missed it, I'll go ahead and pop up the 7-day forecast. So this, again, this is called the MOTS forecast, M-O-T-S, more of the same. Muggy weather, upper 80s, low 90s with occasional pop-up showers and thunderstorms all the way through the middle of next week. But again, what we're hinting at is, what we're trying to get is that Canadian air. So we're going to take a look at that as we bring up the weather models here in just a second. Again, here's a look at the interactive radar at extolmag.com/weather. You can put on the winds, any alerts that might be out there, the temperatures, and any lightning or storm tracks. Looks like we just have a few light rain showers around our area right now. As we expand out, though, a little bit of activity across the Ohio Valley as a front has sort of settled into the region. All right, let's get to it. Here's a look at the current radar and satellite as we back up our view. You can see pretty quiet across much of the United States, except here in the Ohio Valley. There's just not much wind with this front. The front is very weak, so no severe weather or anything like that expected. But there you can see a little bit of green passing through the Commonwealth and the Hoosier State throughout Indiana and Kentucky. All right, let me go ahead and we'll go get out full screen. Let me bring up the live scan radar before we get to the weather models. And we'll look at, hour by hour for today, but I'm more excited at the potential for some Canadian air next week. So a quick tour of the radar. I'll go ahead and bring this up full screen here for you. And I mean, it's just kind of sprinkly stuff down toward the Brandenburg this morning. There's a little bit of a blip of green right there at 65 and 265, maybe kind of a sprinkle. Not much falling from the skies in southern Indiana as we look here. A few more of these light rain showers passing through Kentucky at the moment. Seeing a little bit of this in Breckinridge County, Meade County in Kentucky, and just southeast of Bardstown, there's a little tiny light rain shower. So again, not much out there at the moment. So that makes me want to head into the future radar here for us. Let's go ahead and bring it up. And you know what we like to start with is the HRR, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh Weather Model, the HRRR. So we'll look at the reflectivity, what's happening now. So the initialization is good, just showing basically some light rain showers across the area. So pretty quiet conditions at the moment. I'm going to take this to around 2 p.m. As we start to heat up a little bit more, we'll likely see a couple downpours trying to pop up. Mostly cloudy sky for today, so that's going to limit the warm up today. Today might be one of our cooler days we've seen in a while. Looking at mostly mid 80s this afternoon. And then here's the 3 o'clock and the 4 o'clock. And you can see kind of the nature of this. This shows a little pop-up isolated stuff through the afternoon, but space in between. So still plenty of dry time today, and these are going to be super random, impossible to say exactly where a pop-up shower will happen. I got a comment from northern Bullitt County yesterday. We need the rain. So there are areas that have kind of missed the rain lately. As we look into later on this afternoon, this is around 6, 7 o'clock, still the same kind of deal. That is going to be the nature of these pop-up showers and thunderstorms that we'll have for the through the weekend into next week. I'm going to go ahead and look at now the NAM 3 kilometer. It shows, so we're backing up to now basically. Shows a little bit of the light rain that we have across the area. Going to jump ahead to 2 o'clock with this high resolution weather model as well. And it's very similar. No energy for severe weather. And maybe that pop-up downpour. So this is at around 4 o'clock today. And there you can see just kind of the isolated, random nature to some of these little popcorn showers, downpours, whatever you want to call them. And as we look around the region, if you have any plans to head up towards central Indiana, Indianapolis, same kind of deal, just isolated stuff here and there. And if you're going down to Tennessee, it's all the same. Just a muggy air mass with occasional hit or miss isolated showers and thunderstorms. So that's the view at 4 p.m. later on today. And if you want to look at the Storm Prediction Center, we're looking at, pretty quiet, just lazy days of summer kind of weather pattern. So if you're wondering about any severe weather threat today, that would be the northern plains, northern Nebraska into South Dakota, and then the part of the mid-Atlantic. They're over North Carolina into Virginia. Looks like a slight risk of severe storms today. As we go into day 2 of the severe weather risk, no severe weather risk for us, slight risk out in the plains, and then over parts of South Carolina and North Carolina. Day 3, severe weather risk, no risk for us, very low risk all across the continental United States, coast to coast and border to border. Christina Ferenczi, good morning to you. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for popping in here this morning. Now, let's go ahead and dive into the long range data. We're going to look at the precipitable water, and what that is, we're going to bring up the future radar again. So precipitable water, it is looking through the column of the atmosphere and how much water could precipitate out of the atmosphere if you had a system move through. So it's adding up kind of the moisture so it's kind of cool to look at the dew points. This kind of shows you the contrast between dry air mass and muggy air mass a little bit better, in my opinion. So we're going to look at the precipitable water here with the GFS weather model. And what was cool about this, I was looking at the GFS and comparing and contrasting to the European weather model, and they're kind of agreeing with this for late next week. So I'm actually going to jump ahead to next Wednesday because we don't see any change really to the atmosphere until then. So I'm going to go ahead to the 16th of July. And it's muggy. So there you go. So anything in the pink and the red and really the yellow as well is humid air. And as we back up our view, notice obviously up in Canada here, there's that dry air. So let's get a baseline of what we're looking at. So this is all dry. that desert air out west, that cooler Canadian air. And then everything you see right here, this is next Wednesday. This is the air that we have had, the air that you can wear. It is all humid. So from the Ohio Valley through the deep south, the southeast, even up towards New England, you can see that high humidity across the region. So that's through next Wednesday. No change yet. But let's go ahead and push this ahead to the next day, which would be the 17th of July. And this is going to be Thursday, the 17th. So a little over a week from now. And check this out. You can see a sharp contrast in the two different air masses, and it's getting closer. So we're going to be, of course, fine tuning this forecast as we get closer. But it shows us still in the mugginess next Thursday. So here's what we're waiting for. Let's go to Friday the 18th. And here we go. Now we're seeing a change. That drier air mass is starting to win the battle here. So this would be a cold front. And all this blue color right here, that is that Great Lakes Canadian refreshing air pushing in on a north and northwest breeze and pushing the muggy air to the south. So it might be a little delayed for Kentucky, but if this happens, this is going to be the big news that we'll talk about through next week. Now we'll take this to Saturday the 19th. And so we're starting to see that muggy air off to the south, really south of Tennessee. And so that would be some refreshing stuff. Not only the humidity drop, but we might actually sneak in some cooler temperatures for a little while as well. Let me bring in the temperature map here. And let me see if we can plop on. So perhaps not that cool, but you can see the change. So check this out. I'll bring this up full screen. So this is next Friday the 18th. It's Friday into Saturday. That cooler air winning. So yeah, I don't think we'll see 70s for highs, but we might drop into some lower 80s late next week with the hot stuff heading to the south and off to the west. So a nice little pocket of some cooler air, certainly possible late next week. Could that change? It certainly could. There's been times where the models show this happening and then the warm air ends up winning that battle and it doesn't go as far south as we want. But this is the hope for late next week, for mid to late July, the potential for those dew points to be dropping. So let me go back to the 18th. And this is what we would want. Look at the contrast. That's a pretty cool view here. Wanting that dry air to punch in. You always have the dry air out west pretty much, but trying to sneak in that Great Lakes cooler air our direction next Friday. We've got a good morning, sir, from Michael Montgomery from Mount Washington. Thanks for tuning in here. And Christina, it's finally going to be humid when I leave to go, less humid when I leave to go visit my family in Connecticut for a week. Should be feeling good there, leaving Friday the 18th. So it should be feeling good there as well. So this shows, late next week, those dew points in the 60s. That is noticeably more comfortable air. So we hope that happens. Dew points in the 60s, not feeling too bad this time of the year. Little more humid south. But that would be the change that we're going to be hoping for late next week. So I wanted to show you that day by day. We're going to be, kind of seeing how the weather models behave. And if we can try to get that in here, it's kind of a close call if we can get that Canadian air to win out next week. So again, something interesting to keep an eye on. All right, let's bring back up the forecast. with thanks to Brad Weddington for being on our show this morning. If you missed it, tune in. If you're watching the replay, it's around 10:10, about 10 minutes into the show. Talk to Brad for 10 or 15 minutes about some interesting things around the home. If you have any issues, you can always leave a comment and we'll get to it next time with Wednesdays with Weddington. That was the quick bird nerd segment. This morning at around 6 a.m., we had a couple of the rarer birds, I would say, for us. The pileated woodpecker made a stop, and then the northern mockingbird was checking things out, and the great crested flycatcher. That's the Merlin app. So 80s today, mostly cloudy, a few pop-up downpours. It should be fairly isolated with that. This was, speaking of isolated downpours, my brother sent me this photo of a towering cumulonimbus cloud over Lakeland, Florida, southwest of Orlando there, and super isolated right there. And in case you missed it, I can pop up the video of it, and you can see, if you look closely, you can see the lightning. Just lit up from the setting sun and also the lightning strike. So pretty cool there. Thanks to my brother Adam Peine for sending that one along. UV index, maybe a 9 if we get some peaks of sunshine. The EPA gives out the official UV index. That might be a little high, as it could stay mostly cloudy today. Allergy report, pretty low. Some good news for us allergy sufferers out there. Grass and weed pollen a little bit, but the weed pollen goes up as we go later in the summer and into the ragweed season of fall. Our sunsets are getting a little bit earlier day by day, and our sun rises a little bit later. So we're losing about 20 minutes of daylight by July 24th. We lose 2 hours of daylight by September 9th, 2 months from now. And that's when we have before 8 p.m. sunsets, basically exactly 2 months from now. And again, we can ignore November 2nd for now, where we lose 4 hours of daylight and a sunset at 5:42. 86, our high today, some pop-up showers possible, southwest wind at 5 to 10. Plenty of dry time out there, though, overall. Our low tonight, 71 degrees, partly cloudy, a bit humid out there. Can't rule out an isolated shower, but generally after sunset, we lose the daytime heating and we lose a lot of the active weather. Our forecast tomorrow, partly sunny and very warm, upper 80s, humid, 20% chance of a pop-up shower or storm. And we'll do the same pretty much Friday, but maybe a little warmer, 91. No extreme heat here. And as we continue to keep at least a chance of some spotty showers and thunderstorms this weekend, that'll keep things green across the area, keep the grass growing, keep us away from a crunchy yard. And a lot of the farmers should be happy as well as we get a decent amount of rain from time to time. And keeping us away from drought conditions, which is never good during the growing season. So around 90 degrees Saturday and Sunday, and then some lower 90s next week as well. And again, I think it's going to be after Wednesday, maybe next Thursday, Friday, around the 17th or 18th of July, where we might see some drier and some cooler air trying to work into our region. So we'll hope for that. You know, another live look outside here with the mostly cloudy conditions across the area, a little bit of a gray and gloomy start to our day so far. And Christian's a weather nut. Been checking out the weather in Naples, Florida because of the hurricane season. Yeah, thankfully not much happening in the tropics as we speak. All right, let me go ahead and remove that, add that, and we're going to bring back up a look at the live radar, a quick tour of the radar before we start to move things right along here on our Wednesday morning. Hope you guys are off to a good start on this somewhat dreary Wednesday morning. We'll wait for that to load for just a second. I want to do, before we get to our last check of the radar, just a reminder, there's the full screen interactive radar at extolmag.com/weather. Stay tuned. We should have our app coming out soon, our Extol Media app for Southern Indiana and beyond. And with that, we always want to thank our partners as well, lionsroofingco.com. They've got a roofing repair technician. So all you got to do is head to lionsroofingco.com. And then in the upper right, you'll see careers. You just click on careers right there, and it's going to bring up any opportunities. And right now, that opportunity is a roofing repair technician. So a fun family-owned company there in Memphis, Indiana. Some really good folks. helping out our community. And then if you go to libspaving.com, L-I-B, Ben, as in Ben, spaving.com, here you can see, let's count them up, all the different available opportunities here at Libs Paving, one of the biggest paving contractors around. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, about 20 job openings because they have been expanding. They've got obviously a lot of jobs ready to go. And so go to their website, just click on the Learn More. You're going to learn more about their company, their benefits, and everything you need to know right there at libspaving.com. Thanks to our partners as well at Ivy Tech Community College, the Sellersburg campus. They were recently recognized from the state of Indiana for their help for military families and active duty veterans and their families. And they've got 42 programs offered, a ton of them there on the right side, meeting you where you're at, leveling you up. They've got a lot of 2-year certification programs. And a lot of times high schoolers can graduate already with that 2-year program and get right into the workforce and save a whole lot of money with either getting the college credits in advance or already getting that certification. So pretty cool stuff there. ivytech.edu. Check them out. Just go to locations and head towards the Sellersburg location. Here is the live scan radar, where Indiana is pretty much dry, except when you go up towards Indianapolis. There you can see a decent shower heading up through Greenwood, the Greenwood exit before you get to Indy. And then just seeing some sprinkles down around PRP and Fairdale and the Jefferson Memorial Forest. And a few light rain showers over Kentucky this morning. But again, later today, with the heat of the day, might start to see a couple of those pop-ups later this afternoon. But thankfully, nothing severe. Christian asking about the app. It should be. So we should be at all the different applications for Android or for the Apple Store as well. So stay tuned. We'll let you know all about the app when it is released. And Vicki, how does South Bend look for the rest of this and next week? So South Bend is they're going to be feeling a little bit better. They sometimes will be north of the front, so not as hot as we're going to be, not as muggy. But next week, they should be fully in that Great Lakes Canadian cool down, I would say mid to late next week for them. So they got a way better shot of some refreshing air late next week up in South Bend. All right, any last comments before we wrap it up here at 10:47 on our Wednesday morning, July 9th. Thanks for watching Ben at 10. You can always catch it right here on my Facebook page, live, Meteorologist Ben Peine, P-E-I-N-E, or you can head to Extol Weather. Thanks for liking or following that page as well. Extol, E-X-T-O-L, Weather on Facebook. Extol Media on YouTube. Let's get those numbers up there. Thanks for liking or subscribing. Once you do that, you'll see more of our videos into your feed. So thanks for going there. And extolmag.com/weather. Interactive radars, weather tools for Southern Indiana, and again, beyond right there. And we have the last comment of the day from Vicki Berger. We always like to leave it on a positive note. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.